Signatories to UN Convention Against Torture have agreed to an absolute prohibition of torture, asserting that there are no exceptional circumstances whatsoever in which it may be acceptable. No exceptional circumstances whatsoever means torture cannot be justified even in the face of war, internal political instability, public emergency, terrorist acts, violent crime, or any form of armed conflict. The 147 member nations who have signed this convention agreed to these standards between 1987 and 2010.
The United States was among the earliest, signing in 1988. However, numerous UN reports over the years, as well as statements from the US government itself, have made it very clear that for many years the United States was not abiding by these requirements at all. Under the Bush administration, highly controversial interrogation techniques were approved and used in Guantanamo Bay on persons arrested under suspicions of links to terrorist organisations.
These techniques included waterboarding, a method used to simulate drowning and known to cause severe pain without leaving any physical marks on the victim. This method of interrogation was used by the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia and against political prisoners in apartheid South Africa. Journalists and soldiers who have willingly undergone the procedure have claimed that after 15 seconds the pain becomes absolutely unbearable. Some captives in Guantanamo Bay were waterboarded over 180 times, some as many as 3 times a day.
It's annoying to me now to read every time it's discussed in the press or in Congress that it simulates the feeling of drowning. It doesn't simulate the feeling of drowning. You are being drowned slowly.
Alright, this time I'm going to give you some instructions when you understand me. We're going to place another locket in your hand. These objects are human beings that experience unbearable stress. As soon as you release one of them both, this exercise and demonstration will begin immediately. You understand? Yes, sir. We have a code word for distress. That word is RED. R-E-D. Say the word. If you use that word at any point during this exercise, you will immediately discontinue and cease this exercise and demonstration. Please understand. Yes, sir. Again, what is the word? RED. That is correct.
Alright, are you breathing? Relax, bring your hips out. Turn to your left.
Bring it up on your side.
Turn your left. Alright. Let's meditate your pulse.
Right. Thanks so much. If you hold your breath, it has the effect of tightening the grip of this stuff on over your face and mouth and nostrils. So it's a smothering feeling as well as a drowning feeling. They told me that when I activated the dead man's handle, which is a simple process, you simply release something, you let it go. I didn't do that. I practically, even though my hands were bound, I sort of, as near as you could, I threw the thing out of my hand. I mean, I really wanted it to stop. And I could swear I shouted the code word, but I hadn't remembered to do anything like that. Everything completely goes on you when you're breathing water. You can't think about anything else.
The Bush administration gave orders to the CIA that such techniques were acceptable to use on terrorist leaders and suspected terrorist leaders. But this was in contravention of the idea that there are no exceptional circumstances under which torture should be permitted. When the UN first expressed concerns about the treatment of prisoners in Guantanamo Bay, the United States denied having violated the treaty. Scott McClellan, the White House press secretary, dismissed UN findings as a discredit to the organisation. The detainees are being treated humanely, he said. Remember, these are terrorists.
Mr. McClelland's comments raised some very interesting and difficult questions. Do someone's inalienable human rights suddenly disappear because they're a suspected or even a proven terrorist? Is it right for countries to decide under which circumstances they are happy to deny people these human rights?
In 2009, shortly after his election, President Barack Obama banned waterboarding and several other controversial methods of interrogation, bringing US policy back in line with this section of the treaty. However, he has opposed prosecution of CIA officers who carried out the torture on prisoners in Guantanamo Bay, even though there is no excuse under the treaty to torture under orders from higher command.
We've seen many nations picking and choosing sections from treaties rather than adhering to them as a whole. But is it better to have a commitment which is broken or no commitment at all? And how can we hold nations to account which do not uphold human rights within their borders to the highest degree? Organisations like the Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International continue to look into these challenges, but just as important are the voices of concerned individuals. Make your voice heard. Go to unyouth.org.au to find out more.